Hi, my name is Diane Roberts. I'm the president and founder of Diane's Talking, and I do a lot of different things from anchoring, reporting, voiceover work, media training, PR work. I do it all.
And indeed, she does. So let's start with just a quick blurb about where we met. So Diane and I, we met through a mutual colleague at one of our workplaces, and I think we met before you actually started working at that common
Oh,
workplace.
oh, oh, do you think? Well,
Or did we meet on the phone? How did we meet?
yeah, phone. I think we were texting and then on the
Um,
phone. Yeah, but so we had done that for I would say months, maybe
and then it was a while
several
before I
weeks.
saw you in person.
Yes. And then I saw you in person, but I didn't even know I was going to see you in person that particular day.
Yes.
And you were overworking at a desk. And then I guess somebody must have said like, Liz, and I thought, and I said to somebody, is that Liz Anderson? And they're like, yes. And then I came over like,
It was so
it
good to
is
see you in
funny.
person.
In this day and age, like you can meet somebody and know somebody and like never have met them in person, which is
Right.
crazy to think. But that's how young people have grown up. They make all their friends on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, Snapchat.
So one of the things that fascinates me about your story is that you freelance
I do.
and you make your living freelancing. And I'm a little scaredy cat when it comes to certain things, and that's one of them. I How did you get into freelancing, and why are you not scared every day?
Who says I'm not scared every day?
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm scared sometimes, but in general, I fear, I would rather be afraid for what I'm doing or not doing than for what someone else is doing to me, right? Maybe they're putting their expectation on me. They're giving me a schedule that doesn't fit my lifestyle. They have expectations for my workflow that are unrealistic or whatever it might be. Or they might want me to do three people's jobs because that's kind of how things have gone in the broadcasting industry. Maybe they want me to do three or four people's jobs for less money. And maybe I'm only willing to do two jobs for that money or whatever the case may be. So I want to be more in control of my own self. Not until I moved to DC had I ever been freelance. I don't think I even really knew what that was. I'd always worked at a TV station or a radio station as a full time contracted employee. So I didn't know of this freelance thing. And I was leaving Florida. I was a weekend nighttime anchor and 3 day a week reporter at the NBC affiliate in Florida, in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. And my news director and I just couldn't come to an agreement on retroactive pay and some other things. And so I just made the break and said, I'm going to go do something else. And I had been visiting Washington, D.C. for many, 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 many years. Like, when I don't mean it like that, visiting DC on a regular basis for many years. That's what I would say. And someone who used to work with me in Tampa was now the news director at the Fox affiliate in DC. And she goes, well, why don't you come and freelance for me for a month and see if you like it? And I was like, okay, what does that entail? And she's like, you just come. And at the time I had been working in news. I knew I didn't want to stay in news full time all of the time because local news for me and my soul it was starting to wear on my soul. It was starting to be so depressing doing stories about murders and drunk driving accidents and, all the many things that are so depressing, but important. You have to know what's going on in your community and your state and your region and your world. But for me, I sort of felt like it had run its course. So she said I could come work for a month. And I got here and I worked an early morning news shift. Early
That's
morning,
not for the faint of
not
heart.
not
Anyone
my
who
thing.
works.
But it got me to know DC in a different way. I lived in Roslyn, I worked in DC, and I did morning news for a little bit. At the time, the weekend sports anchor was leaving to go do something else. Several people who used to work with me in Tampa were now at this station in DC, and they were like, oh, you've always wanted to do sports, you should audition for that job. And I did, and I got it on a freelance basis. So the good news is I had this job. It was relatively steady, except outside of football season. So during football season, because the Commanders, in their previous name, Burgundy and Gold, they are king here in DC or have been. So I worked a lot during football season. And prior to the Nats moving to DC, I didn't work as much in the summer. So those early freelance days, and that was more like permalance, which is you have a pretty much set schedule, whether it's 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours, whatever it is, but not full time. So you're not under contract,
Mhm.
so I could say no if something came up, or if I wanted to be gone, if I needed to, you're not beholden to the same sort of rules necessarily. Although I'm a rule follower. So even though I wasn't under contract, I did very much behave like I was. And at a certain point, I left there, started my own business, um,
Was
worked
that
at
Diane's talking that you started
that's
around that time? Okay.
yes. And the reason I called it Diane's Talking is one, I talk a lot in general and have since I was a little kid,
Did you get in trouble in school? Did the teacher
all
leave
the
on your
time.
report card?
Well, what's very interesting is I was shy up until about 8 or 9 years old.
Okay.
I mean, I was definitely afraid to speak to people, look at people. I wouldn't look at them in the face. I was so shy. My dad was in the Air Force, so we moved a lot. And what I realized is if I remain, and I'm putting my adult words on what I did, but what I feel I did is I'm so shy. I have no friends. I don't talk to anybody. I don't do anything. And we keep moving and moving and moving. I can't live like that. So my little tiny self was like, I'm gonna just be out. I just turned from to hello, hi, who are you? What's your name? And I talked to everybody. I cracked jokes. I was the class clown. I was always a very good student because I always paid attention. I wanted to be in the front. So yeah, that was me.
And how old are you when
Um,
you made that realization or that recognition that you didn't
eight,
want to be
nine
that?
ish,
Eight, nine-ish. Okay.
eight, nine ish.
Wow.
Yeah. I want to say second or third grade. That's about 8 or 9, I think.
Mhm.
I don't know. It seems like that.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I did the permalance, left Fox 5, started Diane's Talking, and called it Diane's Talking because I talk a lot. Everything I did, anchoring, reporting, voiceover work, all of it had to do with talking. And so that's why I called it that. Then I got uh, asked to come work at Channel 9, and I did that for a while. Um, and, that kind of ended quietly. Meanwhile, I've been, working here for years and years. I'm meeting more people. I'm doing more freelance work, one-off gigs, maybe a contract gig, all these different things. And so the more people the more people are going to say, "Oh, you might want to hire, Diane Roberts of Diane's Talking. Oh, Diane's Talking can do that for you." So when I left Nine, in the beginning, I was a little nervous, but also kind of steeled in I'm just going to do what I want to do. I do media training. I do some PR work. I do a lot of different things. And I think that's what makes it less scary because I don't have all my eggs in one basket. I do a lot of different things. And I think the last time when you and I talked, when we did our pre-interview, and we talked about one of the things I do is I'm a freelance field producer for Entertainment Tonight. So whenever big things happen in DC, they call me, and I hadn't worked for them in a long time. My company has hired crews for them, so a photographer and audio tech. But as a field producer, they would send someone from New York. And honestly, the day after we talked, I got an email about something. So
Oh, get out of here.
yeah. So next week I'm going to do something for Entertainment Tonight. It's a big long thing. I don't even know if I can say what it is yet, but later I will. But it's a two two different locations of shooting, famous person, and a red carpet thing later, and it's
Nice. That is
I know.
awesome.
So yeah. So and then this week I did something on site with I work as a contractor for Laura Evans Media in PR. She's a small boutique firm, and we met at Fox 5. She was an anchor, and she was a news anchor, and I was a sports anchor. And she has these really wonderful clients that put good out into the world. So it's wonderful working there. So I did that this week.
Mhm.
I worked at a radio station where I worked this week. I work at WTOP radio. I worked there this week, and I'm going to Entertainment Tonight next week. And what else did I do? I did like four different things this week. One of my friends says, "Oh, when I see her, I'll walk in and she's like, "Oh, how many jobs did you do this week?" And I'm like, "Well," but it's the way to keep it. My day is never the same. It's different
Mhm.
every day. Sometimes I'm home in my pajamas working, and some days I put on makeup and do hair and go out and work with clients, and you know, every day is different. And I love that part. And I can decide, I can't 100% decide how much I work, but I can mostly decide, yes, I want to work today. No, I don't want to work today. Or, like I'm going on vacation a week from today.
Mhm.
So I'll be
And
gone
one
for a
of the things
week.
you mentioned that if you don't work, then there's like no
Yeah.
paid vacation time.
There's no pay. So in the District of Columbia, and I don't remember when this passed, but maybe 10 years, no, maybe, yeah, maybe 8 9 years ago. I don't remember. 7 8 9 years ago, they passed something in the district where even if you're part-time, you can accumulate time off time, but when you're only working
Oh,
one day a
that's right.
week, I
Hmm.
mean, you're not, it takes a while to accumulate, but I do get some, but it's not like I get a week of paid vacation. Or if some people who work a 9 to 5 job, they might have 4 weeks of paid vacation. I will never have paid vacation. I will never have a week of paid vacation. I might have a day or two.
Right.
So, but that's a decision I've made. There have been full-time jobs that people are like, "Oh, do you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't."
It's like not even, you don't even think about it. It's an automatic
I
note.
really don't.
Wow,
I
wow.
mean, I was trying to think what would be the job that would make me want to go, "Oh, I don't know. I, I don't know.
And you
I
know
don't know.
what? That is
Uh,
okay.
yeah, I don't,
That
I
is
mean, I,
100% okay. Yeah.
I think
It's a freedom that you have.
it is a freedom. It's a blessing and a curse. It's both
Mhm.
because I get to kind of do what I want, but I have to be strategic. For years, I would never say no. And I would work, you know, two jobs on one day, or I might work 7 days a week, or whatever the case may be. And I still work 7 days a week sometimes, just not always 8 hours a day. But there was that time and people who are freelance, they know what I'm saying. You just say yes, 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 and then you're like, oh, can't run yourself ragged. So but I also am in a position where I know a lot of people, and people recommend me, not just because I'm their friend or they know me, but because I do good work, because I have integrity. So because when you hire me, I'm going to do a good job. If you hire Diane Stalking to bring a crew to you, the crew is going to be a quality crew. And I have every kind of person who does work for Diane Stalking: audio technicians, producers, photographers in all different ranges. So I do a lot of different things.
So let's go back to doing work that feeds your soul. I know you mentioned
Mm,
Laura Evans Media, and they
mm,
highlight people or they have clients that are
mm,
putting good out into the world.
mm-hmm.
How is, you can either speak specifically about your work with them or just all of your projects together. How is that feeding your soul, even though, there's, uh, I don't want to say a lot more work because I don't know your day by day,
Mm,
but how is
it's
your
different
soul
work.
being fed when it seems to the outside person that you might be
Hmm.
doing more work or you might be working more days in the week?
It's sometimes I work more. There's more work. Sometimes there's not. But if we look at when I was a regular contract employee as an anchor and reporter at a TV station, I would work 5 days a week, set amount of time, work overtime. And I think if I worked overtime, I would get paid for overtime. But that was, Florida's a right to work state. So there was no union. Here in DC, when I'm working at the TV stations, there's a union, SAG-AFTRA. I belong to SAG-AFTRA. So if I work overtime, I get overtime at a certain rate. If I work at till midnight and then I come back in at 5 in the morning for some reason, there's an adjustment for working without, I think it's 11 hours between shifts or 12 hours,
Right.
whatever,
Right. A
something like
short
that. So
turnaround. I can't remember the
yeah,
exact
yeah, short
terminology.
turnaround. So there's that kind of work, which is in Florida, heavy a lot, not under union rules. And then here, if I'm going to be working the long hours or the hard hours, you get paid for it, right? And then if I'm working at a job that is not a union job, right? Because all my work is not union work. So if I'm doing something else, I'm probably sitting in my dining room or my living room or my office and working without hair and makeup, right? But I'm still working. So there are balances. And I try to work with people, I know who they are, I know what they're about. I don't want to work with jerks. And that's, like Laura Evans Media too. So a lot of the clients are nonprofits who are doing really wonderful things, helping, giving, doing a lot of wonderful things, putting things out into the world. And so who doesn't want to be a part of that when you've been doing murders and politicians calling each other names and drunk driving accidents and having to go and knock on someone's door who's just lost their baby and ask to talk about that child or ask for that picture. And people say, oh, you're vultures, you're this, that, and the other. Most of those people want to talk about the loved one that died because that person isn't there anymore and you don't know them and they want you to know them. So they look at us as vultures, but the folks who we interact with, not all of them, but most of them, they wanted to talk about that person. They wanted to give us a picture because they wanted people in the news to see, oh, this is their husband, their child, their wife, their sister,
A
whatever.
very real person who had people that
Yes.
loved them, and
Yes.
their space in the world will be missed.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, so there's, you know, here's a really good example of a Laura Evans Media client, a prior client, and that the nonprofit exists differently anymore, so they don't need our help. But um, we did work for the Soul Box Project. This was a woman who, after the Las Vegas shootings, so we have so many shootings, right? But that one, she just couldn't get past that. She couldn't scroll by. She couldn't turn the page on the newspaper. She couldn't turn off the TV. That one really got her. She just felt like enough is enough. And so she would make origami boxes, empty origami boxes. And that was supposed to take space. You said space, and that's what made me think of it. It takes space for that soul who lived. And she wanted to make enough boxes and encourage people all around the country to join her, make enough boxes to equate to the number of gun deaths in the country and bring it to the National Mall and display it on the National Mall so people could see what that number is. Because sometimes we don't understand the numbers. And she did do that and came to the National Mall. It was a big deal, got a lot of press. It got on CBS morning news. But one, that's powerful, that's important. And if I had to work a lot of long hours on that, I wouldn't care because it's important. And it's taking something terrible and putting a face to it. People would make boxes and maybe put their loved one's face on it or their loved one's favorite vacation spot or their favorite number or whatever. So things like that. We work with clients like that. And also, I grew up loving television, movies. I'm the person who watches the Oscars and fills out the ballot and sees how well I do. And my friend and I call each other, and sometimes I'm awful. But so working with Entertainment Tonight, what a joy. I mean, have fun. Trust me. Sometimes when we cover red carpet events, we have to be dressed. It has to be black tie. That, so I first couple of times I would wear heels or whatever. Then I got to wear like, I was like, no, I'm gonna wear some flats because it is a lot of hours. It is hard work. And people think, oh, you get to talk to these celebrities. Well, what you're trying to do is get them to come to you, talk to you. Sometimes I would have a correspondent. Sometimes I would be doing the interviews. The people are coming by, they're coming by, they're coming by. And the pressure is, it's entertainment tonight. You can't just say, "Oh, we miss Lin-Manuel Miranda. He just walked by." That no. Oh, we missed George Clooney. No, so there's pressure. It's hard work, but it's fun, right? And there's a really cool sense of accomplishment. And then I can see on TV, oh, I did that. So one
Definite
time,
sense of satisfaction. Hmm.
yeah, I'll tell you a funny story about something I did for Entertainment Tonight once. There's a movie starring Brad Pitt called Once Upon a Time, directed by Quentin Tarantino. Once Upon a Time in
Oh,
America.
was that the one that was connected to the
The
Manson
Sherry,
murder?
yes, Sharon Tate, yes. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a pit bull
Once Upon a
that
Time in
was,
Hollywood.
yes, that's it. That is, I was just about to pick up my phone and look at IMDb.
Look,
Once
let's
upon
pause just to
that
make sure.
No, that is it.
Oh, that is
What
okay.
that is it. Yeah. And there was a pit bull. He had a pit bull in the movie, his dog. And so I was in Florida. I got an email from Entertainment Tonight. Oh, can you shoot tomorrow or next day or whatever it was in some way out place in Maryland? It's been so long ago, I'm not going to remember the details. Um, they were gonna that dog that was starring in that movie was from the DMV, was from outer Maryland. And I came back early from my trip and got a crew, and we went out there and interviewed the people who owned the pit bull and da da da, how all that. And the producer, the segment producer of that story said to me, why don't you, and of course this sounds, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Why don't you pretend to interview the dog? Oh, what do you think about blah, 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 and make sure you see the Entertainment Tonight mic, right? In the dog. And I was like, blah, blah, blah. And the dog went, oh, and so that made it was like the tease coming up, what this dog has to say about working with Brad Pitt or something. And I'm like, so it was like working with Brad Pitt. And that made it on TV. And I was like, there's my hand. And and I thought it was so silly, but the way they wrote it, it was very cool. And they're such great writers. They do everything so quickly. Oh my gosh, they're so fast and so good. So that's fun. Media training. I've been doing television for 20 plus years. I'm not even going to say how many years. I've learned a lot, a lot. Why would I keep that to myself? I try to mentor college students. If anyone, contacts me and wants to ask about work, I try to help people as much as I can. But that's a lot of knowledge that I could give to other people. And so in media training, I do that. I help people, you know, just how to be better on camera. Look at the camera. Don't say like like break them of their bad habits. Give them tools. Teach them how to come up with their elevator speech. Uh, Teach them what to talk about in a crisis or what not to talk about in a crisis. How to get their message across and not get it muddled up with something else. So I do that, and I've done it for individuals. I've done it for. I worked with I worked with a company based in Iowa, a woman-owned company based in Iowa, and we worked with Fortune 500 um, companies and executives a lot. So I've worked all kinds, nonprofits. I've media trained leadership and nonprofits. So all of those things are fun. They're gratifying. They feed my soul, to answer your question from a zillion years ago. Yes. So
One of the things that you just said that really, I never really thought about it that way because, of course, in this industry, everyone's a go-getter. They know what they want and they
mm,
pursue.
hmm.
One of the things you said, I have all this information. Why would I keep that to myself? To me,
Oh yeah.
that has like altruism in there.
Oh,
That's what
I
I'm
get that from my
sensing.
dad. It's true. I in fact, it probably is one of the driving forces in my work life. Like I'm saying like, I'm going to be very cognizant of myself saying like, since I just said that. But it is one of the things that kind of drives how I operate. I have a lot of integrity. I have more integrity than many people I have worked with over the years. And I don't say that to be judgmental or snarky. I have seen
It's an
it.
observation, it sounds like.
Yeah. So being, growing up in an Air Force family,
Hmm.
growing up with a dad and a mom who both grew up poor. So they weren't the haves, they were the have nots. And that trickles down, even though I grew up middle class. I had everything I ever wanted or needed: food, clothing, shelter, everything, love. I had it all. So I'm just motivated by fairness and trying to do right and trying to help people. And I would say to a fault sometimes, I will do that extra thing to make something a little bit better. And I always say my 80% is better than the 100% that some people give. Most people don't give 100% because they want to do as little as possible and just kind of get through it. I used to not understand that about people who've worked for many years in their life, but they get tired. You get tired of overachieving. And I would say I've always been an overachiever. So, but I do want to help other people, help them get better, be better, do better. I think that reflects on society. We just, not to talk about myself or pat myself on the back, but this goes
Why
back
am I
to
sneezing? I'm sorry.
God bless you.
I'm so
God bless
sorry.
you. God bless you again. God bless
That
you.
was
Pre
such
God
a
bless you.
weird sneeze. Okay, am I going to keep that in or not? I might as well.
You just do whatever you need to do. I would. It'll be the
I'm so
comedic
sorry.
break. It's the comedic break. I remember when I was living in Florida and I lived near an elementary school and I used to volunteer at that elementary school. I would read books or tutor the kids, in the back of the room or whatever. And one year I ran to be on the PTA board. I was neither a parent nor a teacher,
Gosh,
but I
that
was
is
on the
funny.
board. And everybody's like, "Why are you doing that? You don't even have kids that go to the school." I'm like, but those kids are going to grow up and they're going to govern this world, right?
Mm,
We want these kids to get every possible chance to be the best they can be. And if my reading a book to them helps them learn to read or keeps them quiet for a small amount of time and that they understand why that's important or whatever the case may be. So I was all about being on the PTA. And I also didn't understand why more people didn't do that,
mm,
because it's not just parents and teachers who care about how kids do, in my opinion. Like, how kids learn and grow up and graduate and move about in this world, that affects all of us. So I don't necessarily see it as like all altruism as much as like we all want to get along and we all want a smart world and we all want good kids who grow up to be good adults. Like, people aren't good and bad, to make good decisions,
right.
to act in a positive manner.
That is good for the community, good for themselves and the
Yes,
community as a
a
whole.
100%. Yeah.
Wow. Ooh,
So yeah, I don't
stuff
want to
I
keep it
never
all
talked
in.
about. And I used to be a teacher. I never thought about not. I never
what
thought about like being on the PTA if I
oh
were not a parent or a teacher.
what grade did you teach?
I taught, let's see, fifth grade, first, and kindergarten. They were so
See,
adorable. And those are
I
the
love
ones
them
I
when they're
just
little.
love reading to them.
Mm. When they're little, and I would say when I was a volunteer, I'd say, "Hey, I'll do whatever you want, but only up until third grade. I don't want them after third grade because that's when they get so independent." And what I know about myself, I am very self-aware. I need those little cute children to need me. I want I want them to want me around. And so up until then, like those kindergartners or first graders, they'll do whatever. They're like little sponges. Oh, love them. And I always did
Adorable.
voices and, you
And they
know,
love that stuff.
oh yeah, 100%. That was great.
Oh my
Kudos
gosh.
to you for teaching fifth graders. I think middle school and high school is hard. Fifth
Mhm.
is
That's
starting
right
to,
there in the
they're
middle. They're
starting to,
still
yep, they're
kids,
start,
but
yep.
there's still a
Oh,
little bit of that need
oh,
that's
cute,
that's there. And they
cute.
love to talk. And I know sometimes every now and then I would just after lunch, I would just let them voice their opinions and just talk things out because I know that, I don't know what all the home lives were
Yes,
like,
right.
but if you come from certain cultures, the talking to children versus at children, especially back
Yes,
then, that was like more 20
yes,
years ago. So I know things have
yes.
changed in a
That's
generation,
right.
but maybe they didn't feel heard. I just wanted to make sure, they
They
felt
felt
heard
heard. Yes.
and not judged. And, if they asked my advice for something, I would give it in a non-judgmental way, you know.
Thanks,
Those
Miss
were
Anderson. See you tomorrow, Miss Anderson. Oh my God, I bet they were adorable.
And
I
sometimes, like
loved
the
it.
little kids, like the first graders, I remember we would have discussions. They would ask me questions that I thought that they should be asking their parents, like stuff
Oh,
about God and religion. And I'm like, oh, why?
oh.
I don't want to answer this question.
Ooh,
So
not in
I would
school.
say, this is what some people believe,
Yes.
and this is what another group of people might
Yes.
believe. I think you should take this up with your parents and have this discussion
Yes.
with them.
I'm fascinated by other religions and other cultures. And I used to think that's just because I was just fascinated with that. And
Mhm.
everybody's like, well, Diane, you were in a military family. That's probably why. And I was like, oh, yes, that probably is why. It was just my life. So I didn't know. Right.
Mhm. Cool, cool. That's another thing that fascinates me, being
Mm.
in the military family, moving around everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I was in the same house
Oh,
from the
no.
time my parents brought me home.
Yes. Until,
My dad is still there.
see,
We
this
didn't
is what
move
I'm talking
around a
about.
lot.
I don't, I couldn't. When people meet me and they're like, "Oh man, and you move so much, that must have been hard." I didn't know anything else, so nope, wasn't hard. And then I
Mhm.
think about you, people, all the many people you were born and raised in the same city, county, whatever, and never left. I can't even. But I also think my being part of a military family prepared me for my television life.
Mhm.
So I went to college in Atlanta. I graduated from Georgia State University with a degree in broadcast journalism. And because grew up in a military family, I didn't care where I worked. I didn't care where my first job was. A lot of people are trying so hard to stay close to home, close to
Mhm.
their friends, close to their family, because they lived in one place all their life. Me, I was like, it's just an extension of what every few years I'm moving. So I'm like, I didn't care. And I sent resumes everywhere. Portland, Maine, Portland, Oregon, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Des Moines, Iowa. I mean, I'd sent them everywhere. And my first on air job was in Des Moines, Iowa. I moved from Atlanta, Georgia to Des Moines, Iowa in November.
Oh, er.
Yeah. So there were many, many things that were crazy about that time.
How was the Iowa winter?
I lived in Iowa. This is what I always tell people. Oh, I lived in Des Moines 2 years and 8 months, 3 winters. I mean, and the first winter I was there, the weather people were like, "This is the coldest winter we've had in 15 years." And I'm like, "Sure, great, great." My first winter there is the coldest
Great
one they've had in
timing.
15 years. I would call my friends in Atlanta. I'd be like, "Please remind me. Why did I say I would move here? I don't remember. It is so cold." But I worked in Des Moines, Iowa. I met a lot of different kinds of people. Iowa at the time, the entire state was 97% white. That's 3% other. So that's Black, Asian, Hispanic, everything. Luckily, I lived in Des Moines, which is a college town and the capital. So there was a larger percentage, but that's still a larger percentage of a very small percentage.
Right.
But that, again, being in the Air Force kind of prepared me for anything, right? So some African Americans grew up in African American communities. So moving to a place that was all white would be very jarring, not as jarring for me because I'd been around every kind of person, white people, Asian people, Hispanic people, like being in and a lot of times we lived in places where we might be the only Black family, right?
Mhm.
So that was not odd to me. It was odd for them. Many
Mhm.
times people would say, "Oh, you're the first Black person I ever met."
Oh, wow.
That
Wow.
was I used to say if I had a nickel for every time someone said that to me,
Would
could
you
have bought
be?
something. I could have bought something good. What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that
But
fascinates me. That
and
fascinates me
that
because I grew up in Los Angeles where it's
oh
like a miniature world.
yes, yes. And what I say to people is they weren't saying that to be mean. They weren't
Mhm.
being mean white racist at all.
That was
It
just
is the
their
it
telling the
was the
truth.
true definition of ignorance. Like they literally ignorance isn't like you're so ignorant. No, it is you haven't had that experience. How would you know anything about anything?
Mhm.
So that
Wow.
was yeah. And then I moved to Columbia, South Carolina, then to
Uh-huh.
the Tampa Bay area of Florida, and then to Washington D.C. So moving
Nice.
around is like my
It's
Air
like, oh,
Force
the
life.
sun is up.
So
That is so cool. That is so
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Um, let's see. So we talked about the benefits and some of the challenges. What is something that you have experienced that you did not expect from your freelance journey? Like something that just either came out of left field, surprised you, taught you something that you didn't know, or enhanced some knowledge that you already have in a way that you never really thought about.
Mm. Oh, I have a good answer for this. So another one of my freelance jobs was being a correspondent for Matter of Fact with Soledad O'Brien. That was a syndicated magazine program, was syndicated in about 98% of the country. So almost everybody saw it, but it aired different times, different cities. And um, so I did all different kinds of stories for them over the 10 years they were on the air. Now, that's background. Put a pin in that for a second. Another freelance job I did is someone I had worked with when boy, yeah, I've done a lot of stuff. When I worked at AARP as a correspondent for a magazine program, it was kind of like CBS Sunday Morning for the 50 plus crowd. So we would do all these cool, interesting stories. I got to travel all over and it was really cool. And I met someone there. She edited a lot of my stories, and she and her husband have a production company. And they hired me once to be a field producer on a video they were producing for a nonprofit that helps educate college students of color about financial literacy. So I'm thinking I'm just going to go, I'm going to sit, and I'm supposed to help the people who are doing the video. Some of them were students, some of them were professors, making sure that their energy was up and that they were looking at the camera and that they were, saying the main points that were in the script and that, their faces weren't too shiny or what all the many things that you have to do as a field producer. But as I'm field producing, I'm listening to this information about financial literacy in the Black community. And the numbers were just, I was just like, I was fascinated by the topic. And it talked about how many Black families never talk about wills. They don't talk about deeds to property. Many don't have wills. And so there is not that generational wealth in the Black community or other communities of color like there are in the majority white community. And so this nonprofit, SFEPD, the Society for Financial Education, don't remember the other letters, something and development. I'm so mad I can't remember. SFEPD. So that's what they do is they try to educate and they have these student ambassadors in colleges around the country, mostly HBCUs, but not only. And I was like, one day I want to do something on this. I want to do something because I just thought the information was so important and so powerful. Took me 2 years to gather the right information, find a student, present it to Matter of Fact with Soledad O'Brien, because that's the kind of program they really spend a lot of time giving voice to the voiceless, speaking to members of society that maybe don't get to speak on camera a lot. And so it was the perfect story for them. And that was a what you perfect example of what you just asked me. Like this is information I didn't know about, that I learned about, that I did a story about, and I could share with other people. And it was really a fantastic story. And the young lady, Kaylee Dunn, who goes to Alabama State University, she's going to be a senior this year. We did the story earlier this year, um, January. So she was a junior. Now she's a senior. And they have part of what they have to do is give speeches to their friends and family about some of the things they're learning, sessions, not speeches, sessions, about what they're learning, so that they're taking that information and they're spreading it amongst their friends and family who are going to make better financial decisions earlier in life. And they're going to build that generational wealth. We interviewed her father, who said his credit score went from what do you say, 500 something or 600 something to 800.
Wow.
Just by listening to his daughter. So like stuff like that gets me super excited. And I also learned that I can do that. My skills as a television reporter and television anchor translate to a lot of different types of jobs. Those are so one thing was very specific about information, and one thing was more general about what I could do.
So in our oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's, yeah.
So in our pre-interview, you mentioned something that I found, I mean, it made sense that the position would exist, but because I don't
Oh,
encounter it on a daily basis, I mean, I just didn't think
uh,
about it. Sensitivity reader.
reader.
Tell
Yeah.
tell me about that and what that entailed and how you found that.
I
Or
just, again, it's all about, first of all, I think it's because I'm myself. I would not say earlier in my career I was always myself. I work very hard to not try to be somebody else. I am me. I am authentically me almost all of the time. So during the pandemic, I was driving from Washington, D.C. down to a small town in Georgia, south of Atlanta, to check in on my dad, who was older. And, he wasn't sick or anything, but my dad was a social butterfly, which is where I got it. So the pandemic isolated everybody, and he was getting older and needed more help. And so I was going down there a lot. And one time all the time, actually, I would pass an exit for Columbia, South Carolina, which is one of the places where I used to work. And through Facebook, I became reacquainted with some people I knew when I lived in Columbia, including a woman who worked at the state newspaper in Columbia. And so one day I called her and I said, Deborah, I'm driving by Columbia. It's making me think about you. And so often I would call her either on the way to Georgia or on the way back from Georgia. And she is a white woman from Ohio. And we would just have these amazing conversations about politics, religion, family, race. I mean, anything you can imagine. We just talked about everything all the time. We did not have that kind of relationship when I was friends with her, but that's what time does. And, all the many things. Pandemic made people feel differently too about relationships. Well, so I said she worked at the state newspaper. So she was a journalist. I was a journalist. She's in media. So she has a friend who works at Science Magazine. And her friend said to her, they were having a conversation one day about, and this was after George Floyd. So there was a lot of heightened awareness about the way people of color were treated in this country, and the way people of color, women, LGBTQ, everybody were being treated in this country, and how not just representation, but even the idea that the media wasn't even considering some of these things. So in Science Magazine, after George Floyd, they said, we have got to do something and we have to serve our readers better. And her, Deborah's friend called me and said, Deborah told me that, blah, 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 you're a journalist, because they wanted someone who was a journalist who would understand about having to tell stories. And so they said, we know we need a sensitivity. We need to be more sensitive to people of color. We don't have enough of that in our newsroom. And so they wanted to be more mindful of all of their readers. So, and what I didn't know, I'd never heard of a sensitivity reader like you. I had never heard of it. And so sensitivity readers are a thing in the publishing industry. Many books, like many publishing companies hire people because they want the sensitivity reader to look for maybe LGBTQ issues, obesity issues, or just other issues. Pick one. And so I got to read stories and look for things, maybe the wording or the tone or the language used would not be positive towards members of the Black community. And I cannot tell you how many times they said to me, oh my God, we never even thought of that. And they were so grateful. That was a time where I felt like, wow, I am really, truly helping people, like really, truly, because these weren't people who were trying to be PC.
Mhm.
They just they recognized something missing in their own space and they wanted to fix it and make it right for everybody who read their magazine. And so I that was one of my favorite jobs because I got to use just who I am as a person to help enlighten other people, to help them see things from a different point of view. Like I have very often been the only Black person in a room, the only Black person in a neighborhood, the only Black person in class, the only Black person. I was the first African American Monday through Friday anchor in the Tampa Bay area when I got there. So but not many white people can say the same thing, that they've been the only white person in a room. And I just think it helps you understand your place in the world and understand what it's like to be a minority. And I think a lot of white people might not know what that's like.
Mhm.
So that's why being a sensitivity reader was very, what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't just important, it was very meaningful. It was very meaningful for me because I just felt like I was helping. I would look at pictures and words and there was, anyway, I don't want to get into specific articles that I did, but there were some cool ones. And I thought to myself, ooh, Science Magazine, that's not my thing, but I'll do the best I can. But the stories were fascinating. All of them were fascinating. So
Wow.
yeah,
That is really cool.
yeah. But there are
That's so
sensitivity
cool.
readers for novels, and I mean, yeah, because
Wow.
once I found
Wow.
out about it, then I went
Mhm.
Googling and looking on different job sites and everything. I was like, sure enough, sensitivity reader. Who
Oh,
knew?
wow. Okay.
I know.
See, now I'm going to have to check that out myself.
I know, right? And it's
Oh my
funny
gosh.
talking with you about it. I haven't thought about it in a while, but boy, that was fun.
It's so cool. And what was that remote?
Oh, girl, yes.
Yes. Oh, because you said that during the pandemic. Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
It was very remote. Me in my pajamas over here. And they would give
Yeah.
me a deadline. Here's another thing I learned being freelance is that, and I can't speak for newspapers because I never worked in newspapers. And I have not worked in radio as a reporter, going into the field reporter in a long time. So I can speak to television reporting and television anchoring. There were things I learned that I could do that translated to, we've talked about this earlier already. Yeah, we already talked about that earlier. That they're
Oh,
just
okay,
things that
like different transferable skills.
yeah, transferable.
Mhm.
Yeah, that I just never thought about. But like,
Wow.
oh, there's my cat. No,
Oh,
no,
hello.
no.
Meow. Oh, you have your pods in. You can't hear
She,
me.
I know, but I want to get her over here so I could show her to you. But she's, I don't know what she's doing.
So a
Anyway,
few more questions. Let's see. So which of these do I want to ask first?
mm,
Okay, so I think oh, okay. So what would you say to anyone who's thinking about the freelance life, but they're letting in the
fear stop
beginning,
them.
yes, the F word. I was going to talk about two different F words. One was the freelance, that F word, and then oh,
Look at my
look
boo
at you,
boo.
Precious.
Gabby,
Oh,
look. Gabby, look.
hey,
Gabby, look right here, boo boo. Gabby,
hey,
Gabby.
hey, Gabby the cat, the wonderful, wonderful
Oh
cat.
my God, she is so beautiful. Okay, there you go. I love my cat. She's very hairy though.
Oh.
Sorry about
So
that.
someone who's
Cat.
thinking about the other F word, freelance, the first F word,
Yes,
freelance, but
yes.
they're being sidelined by fear.
Fear. I
Ooh.
get it, but there comes a point where you have to decide what is best for you, and whatever that is, then you have to move forward with that. And I believe for a lot of people, the stability, the comfort, that's what it was for me, the comfort of having a regular job with a regular paycheck. It was comfortable. I could have stayed in Florida forever, meaning I could, if I didn't make waves for myself, I could have stayed there. I had a comfortable job. They liked me. I was well liked in the market, all that. But it wasn't authentically right for me. So I needed to move and do other things. And so once you realize you have to do what's right for you, then I think you start moving in the correct direction. And I think the fear kind of takes a back seat.
Mhm.
Okay, whatever
And
you
so
say. Can you hear Gabby or no?
let's see.
Oh my gosh, she was just crying so loud. You didn't hear it. That's like the lawnmower and the
Right.
cat. And so I just would rather be happier. And I'm not saying that I'm happy every day. There are things that are depressing, just life things. We've lost my father. My father passed away a few years ago. I mean, there's just things. My nephew passed away earlier this year under not pleasant circumstances. And so there are just things that happen. I'm not happy every day, but I am more in control of my life. I am more in charge of my life. And so I am living more authentically. I feel better. I feel more like me. I don't feel like I'm doing something for somebody else, or that what would be right for me, what other people think I should do, or even what my parents thought I should do, or whatever. The fear for me, and this is everybody's different. So for me, like I love going to restaurants, I like good meals, I like hanging out with friends. If being freelance means I have to do less of that, I have to do less of that. If I have to eat, this is a joke I make. If I have to eat peanut butter and jelly or SpaghettiOs for a week, I'll do that. Fact of the matter is, I don't really like SpaghettiOs that much, and I've never liked peanut butter and jelly. I only had peanut butter and potato chips. That was my sandwich of choice when I was growing up. But I've never gotten to that. It's never gotten, that's not true. When it got low, when there wasn't a lot of freelance work coming, for a while, I did allow myself to wallow in self pity. My father, helped keep me afloat for a little bit. I mean, I was sitting on the couch every day, just why is this happening? I can't believe I'm talented. And I have a friend who is an executive coach, and she was like, "You have to stop being so negative about yourself." Because I thought, I don't have a job. I cannot go get a manicure, pedicure. Really? You don't deserve to have a manicure every now and then? Maybe if you have a job, you do it every month. You don't have a steady job, maybe you do it every 6 months. Whatever it is, don't deny yourself. And because I was in that negative denial mindset. And so the minute I started allowing myself to say, okay, I'm allowed to go get a manicure once every 6 months. I'm allowed to go out to eat at Clyde's. I don't have to go to Jose Andres fancy restaurant. Do you know what I'm saying? The minute you free your mind of that, then things start happening because when you change yourself and other people, even without words, people see and feel the difference. And I don't mean to sound woo woo, but I feel like manifesting my future, right? I started manifesting that, okay, I can do other things. I can do things. And uh, I found a side hustle that I could do that would still allow me to freelance in television or radio or media training or whatever it was. I found a very easy, flexible side hustle that allowed me to keep working. Then the side hustle brought in a little bit of money.
Mhm.
Then you start feeling better about yourself. It's that not bringing in the money. But why was that happening? Because I was sitting on my butt feeling sorry for myself.
Mm.
So, what you have to do is you have to, you don't necessarily have to have a 5 year plan or something, but you have to have a game plan. You have to say, okay, I want to be able to work X amount of hours a day or X days a week. I want to be able to make X amount of money. And then you make that happen. You forget how many people you know. If you've lived in one place forever, your friends have grown up. They do all sorts of things. They might be a police chief. They might be a senator. They might be the general manager of a TV station. They might be a news director. You don't know, or you probably do know, but you never think about reaching out to them. So a lot of any industry, not just broadcasting, any industry, a lot of it is who you know. And then you can stay at that place because of what you know. So it's the same in the freelance world. I now, I mean, there are people who come to me because they know what I could. I literally got asked yesterday or the day before to MC. I do, and I love to MC programs and events. And I got asked to MC something. So that's going to happen sometime next month. So all of these things, they happen because I have put myself out there because I've done good work over the years that I can be proud of, that people can look to and see what I've done. And they either hire me themselves or recommend me to other people.
Awesome. How did you get to the point where you were comfortable talking about your strengths? Everyone
Oh,
has them.
oh,
I am horrible when
oh,
it comes to reviewing and redoing my resume.
oh.
I literally have to get help because I'm horrible pointing out the things that people that are glaring to other people, that other people say, put this down, that. And I'm horrible at that. Terrible.
Do
No
you know
good,
who
very bad.
cares? Do you know who cares the most about you and your future and the kind of life you'll have and the kind of money you make? You know who cares about that the most? You, not your boss, not any of your bosses. And I don't care how much you like your boss, because I've had some fantastic bosses in my life. But those bosses, they have to worry about the people above them and the people below them. Do you know who worries about you the most? You. And I learned that a long time ago. I don't know when, but someone said, you have to advocate for yourself. So I would say I don't brag about my skills. I have a weird dichotomy because I never tell people that I work in television or radio because I feel like when I do that, people think I'm bragging.
Mhm.
But if you tell me that you're the CEO of a company, I don't think you're bragging, right?
You're
So
just stating a fact.
yes, but I don't. So I know, I kind of know what you mean. So I have that. But if I'm in a one-on-one situation or if I'm in an interview situation, I literally, I know what I bring to the table because I know that I care. And this may sound mean or snarky. It's just fact. There are some people who work in many industries and they don't care. It's a paycheck. They go in, they do the work, they go home. It's a paycheck. But I care. And so I know when people hire me, they need to know that I care, that I'm going to do what's right, I'm going to do what's fair, and I'm going to do the best I can do given the constraints of the project. Because I have done some projects that were really hard because they had a very small budget
Mhm.
because they don't know what it takes to put together a video. They don't know how long the editing takes. The voiceover has to match the da da but da. Like there's a lot that goes into it. Some you don't know what you don't know, which is why you hire people who have a certain expertise, right? So if someone wants someone who does, and voiceover work means a lot of different things to different people. That's the other thing. When I say that I do voiceover work, people either think movie trailers or commercials.
Mhm.
I don't do
There's
either.
so many different things.
So many, or video games.
Mhm.
I don't do any of those, but I have done a lot of different kinds of voiceover work. So
I'm going to try and do better to
you have to
talk about my
advocate for
strengths.
yourself. You have, and why would someone want to hire you if you don't think you're good at something?
Hmm. Hmm.
Think about it that way.
Yeah.
Why would they, if you don't have belief in yourself,
Mhm.
why would they hire you?
Right. So
Come
I'm
on
going to
now.
start saying that one of the things that I really had trouble with is the two words award winning.
Oh,
The radio station that we both work at
mm-hmm,
won a regional award for our coverage uh, of Roe v. Wade being
mm-hmm,
overturned.
mm-hmm,
I was out there in front of the Supreme
mm-hmm,
Court.
mm-hmm.
One of my stories was in with the submissions. I have still had trouble. That's been a few years ago.
There's no
I still
reason.
haven't put award winning.
Well, please change that. Put it on your
Okay.
LinkedIn as soon as we're done.
Okay.
I'm serious. Why would
Okay.
you?
I don't know. And that's the thing. I do not know. I do not know why.
You know what? If you sat down, like if we sat down for about an hour, I bet I could pinpoint. You just have to go back. You just have, there's somewhere something that happened either in your childhood or early in your career, or somebody said to you, "You're arrogant. Why would you say that?" Somebody said something that made you feel that way.
Mhm.
But you have to be your own advocate. Very few other people are going to do it for you. Very few. You
I
have
didn't
to be
think
your
this was
own.
going to turn into a therapy coaching session.
Well, and I'm not even going to charge you. That's the kind of gal I am. No, that I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
you really I learned that, and but I do still have. So I started this mastermind group of women. We're all
You
freelance.
brought
Most
that
of
up.
us in uh
That was going
most
to be
of
the
us
next question.
most of us in television. Um, one is an executive coach, and I think one is a former newspaper reporter. We all help each other because of what you're talking about, because it's bad in women. We aren't good at asking for money. We are not good at telling you all of our wonderful qualities. So that's what some of the things that we talk about, like how can we ask for more money? You know, what is the right amount of money for this job? Sometimes we hire each other, we support each other, we give each other ideas. And like you, not even understanding maybe your own gifts or skills or qualities, there's going to be someone go, "Oh, but you also do XYZ." "Oh, yeah, I do." "Yeah, well, that's a skill." "Oh, I didn't think about it that way." So that's where some of it comes from. You know, you should find a group of women. You should find 3 to 5 women, 10 women, whatever it is, who you can get together because you can be more honest with other women. We talk about salaries openly. We talk about money openly because there's knowledge and power. Again, what I'm talking about, I'm in the broadcasting and communications industry, but it's true for any industry in any group of people. Yeah.
Find a tribe, a career
Yeah.
tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know they were called mastermind groups, but they are apparently. I didn't
Wow.
just make that up. That's what they're called. I
Cool.
wish I want to name us. We should have a name. But yeah, that's been really helpful too.
Okay.
Some of
Is
us
there,
found out we were undercharging for
oh,
our day
really?
rate for producing. Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because one person, it might have, I don't know if it was me or someone else. "Oh, what do you charge for that?" "Oh, I charge that." "Oh no, you need to be charging 15, blah 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 blah." We're like, "What?" And so everybody was so
Wow.
excited because they learned.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Things you learn in community.
Mm-hmm.
Is,
Yes.
Is there anything that I have not asked you? You know the last question.
I don't,
Anything that I haven't asked you that that you feel it's important for listeners and viewers to understand about the freelance life or just life in general? Nugget of wisdom.
I think you have to know yourself and you have to know your boundaries and you have to know your wants and your needs because those are different. And you have to have some sort of path to get there. And you have to have community. You do have to have a group of people who will be honest with you about all of it. Might be one person, might be five people, but there have to be people who will be honest with you about what you can contribute, what you should contribute, what you want to contribute, what you're willing to contribute, and what you have the skills for, because sometimes you don't see it in yourself. I love the freelance life. I'm going to Albuquerque to the International Hot Air Balloon Fiesta for a week. It's been
That
something I've
sounds so
wanted to do for a
beautiful.
long time. And I'm like, that's a week with no pay. But it's like that's something I've wanted to do. So why would I deny myself? It just means I have to work harder before, which I am. Worked a lot this week. And I'm gonna have to work harder when I get back. I'm willing to do that. I've done hard work. I've done a lot of hard work in my career. That hard work doesn't scare me. I can do that. And so just do, and also know, practically speaking, freelance work ebbs and flows. It ebbs and flows. So don't be afraid of when it's a downtime. Take the downtime to do the things that you want to do.
Mm,
Or to, like for me,
mhm.
I'm trying to downsize. Like I just collect things. I have too much stuff. So when I have a slow period, let's go through these papers and throw stuff out. And do you wear that shirt anymore? So I'm constantly trying to streamline things. That's what I do in my downtime. So just because you're not working doesn't mean you can't be doing something valuable.